Thank you for joining me. I'm just going to try and share with you some of the things that when somebody joins the hospital and is part of the hospital, they need to be aware of as part of the healthcare workers' responsibilities. This is in the context of mass casualty preparedness, what in the old terminology we used to call the disaster management plans. I'm Mayane Muyeng, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Charlotte Maxeke Johannesburg Academic Hospital in Gauteng, South Africa. So first, know your hospital. This is our hospital, as you can see. By now, you should be aware that it has these two parallel long passages, that it has been divided into different sections. We're talking about Block 1, which is where most of our pediatrics and obstetrics are held. Block 2, some more of the pediatric work and some of our radiology. Block 3, where most of the surgical specialties are found, and that's where they work. Block 4, where we are looking in terms of the area from under the ground with parking all the way up to some of the wards that include medical wards and some of the surgical wards. And Block 5, which is predominantly the medical expertise. As you know, this is a teaching institution. And on the very same diagram, you can see the aerial view that includes number 6, which was our emergency department. Number 7, our admin block, and obviously it's attached to the University of the Witwatersrand Health Sciences building, which is number 8. So always have an idea, know where your entrances are. For most people, again, for emergency entrance, we use gate number 6, and that will take us through to the emergency and our helipad. And the rest, as you can know, we are parking as staff members at the back of the hospital with all of the current challenges that we are seeing. I just want to highlight a few things that I think are key to all of us. If you don't have that general idea of your hospital layout, you will find it difficult to participate and to evacuate in emergencies. All entrances should have at least an exit and an emergency entrance available. And therefore, as you walk into your institution, get used to the alternatives so that if an emergency arises, you are able to deal with it. So back to this hospital, there will be clear markings that you can see. Let's start in the front of the hospital. Those that are in the administration building, when they evacuate across the entrance of gate number 6, and that is where it is marked. All of the emergency departments that are at level 6, that includes emergency gynae and all the pediatrics and trauma and general emergencies, they evacuate outside in front of the helipad. There is also an evacuation on the 5th floor, the hospital street, where most of our bus and our public transport comes. This is again an assembly point, again moving further away. For those of us that are in the hospital blocks, we have an option of either being closer with block 1 or block 2, evacuating through the 5th Street, or block 3, which is the green, the orange and the green block. We can go down the parking lot and exit to the back of the hospital. And block 5, they have an option of using the other end of the hospital and the tunnel to be able to exit. So have that general idea. Remember that when we are asking people to evacuate, you need to be able to go to those points of assembly. However, when it's a bomb that we are concerned and worried about, you at least have to evacuate up to about 300 meters. And therefore, we can expect you to actually even move further away from the area that is designated under normal evacuation periods. So know where you are, know the wards that you are working in, familiarize yourself with alternative routes to evacuate under those circumstances. Now, this building also comes with some of the challenges. There are different blocks, as I've explained, block 1 up to block 5. They all have bilateral wings, and they will allow you to have the entrance to the wing in the main foyer of the hospital. So during fire and emergency evacuations, you need to understand the concept of horizontal versus vertical evacuation. Vertical evacuation, that's you and I coming from the top floor through the emergency stairs that are supposed to be lit, and you can see them that they are emergency stairs and they're supposed to show you how to go down, or through the normal entrance if it is not affected by the fire or the bombing or the flooding. And that's when we make our way down. Now, when we have patients that can't be walking or they are still bedridden, then we will use that opportunity to get them down through, again, the very same route and using the lifts. But in case of fire, we cannot use the lifts of those areas or that block that is affected by the smoke or the fire. So what we need to do is to be able to have the ability to evacuate laterally, to use the ends of those wards so that we move from one block to the next block. And this is what we call horizontal evacuation. And therefore, when we move from block 2 through the back entrances of those wards into block 1, then if block 1's lifts are not affected by the fire, then we are able to utilize those lifts and therefore combine horizontal with vertical evacuation processes. And it is important for all of us to make sure that those exit points for emergency exit are not obstructed by anything. It is forbidden to leave furniture that is old over that area. It is forbidden to allow for paperwork and the cabins to obstruct that route. At all times, we need to have the ability and the proper passage to use not only the normal routes that we are accessing the hospitals, but in case of emergencies, the accesses that are emergency exits should also be readily available and not obstructed by anything under those circumstances. I hope it makes sense. One of the issues that you must clear up in your mind, you need to always be willing to listen to instructions and advice during emergency situations. Unfortunately, people like the spectator value, and they want to come and have a look when they are when they end up breaking the rules relating to emergency evacuation. As you can see, this floor event or the roof event that had happened and collapsed onto the floor, you are not allowed to be there as much as you might be wanting to come and help until we know that this is a safe area to go through. Only people that are wearing appropriate gear are allowed to go into this region until it is safe for everybody else. We are losing and we are ending up in unnecessary chaos because healthcare workers don't want to listen to advice during this period of time. When the security asks you to stay away, when we cordon off an area, it is for you and I as healthcare workers to obey those instructions and follow those advice that are given. I know for most people, this is not always an easy thing, but you need to learn and we need to work as an institution and improve our ability to park in reverse. If you recall one of the incidences that we had in this hospital and we needed to evacuate, there was an extra delay that could have been avoided. So when you park in reverse, you find that at least when you're coming in, the fixed positions are all linked. The risks are less. And when you lead, you need to leave in a hurry. You will find that parking in reverse is the best way to do it. And that's something that all of us need to learn and something that is expected out of all of us as healthcare workers in this institution. So please practice it so that when we need to leave in a hurry during an emergency evacuation, we minimize the delays and we minimize the risks. There are different training sessions that we run in the hospital to get people ready and to improve them for emergency preparedness. Can I ask you to make your time available so that at least you refresh your knowledge about where the emergency exits are, what is expected out of your department, and that can be dealt with in a different unit. I'm hoping that as part of this hospital, as a member of the healthcare workers of the hospital, irrespective of what you do in the hospital, you would realize that it is your active participation in these processes, your interest in learning further, that can make a huge difference whenever we're dealing with mass casualty incidents in the hospital, whenever we are dealing with a need to evacuate or disasters relating to our structure. But you and only you can make a difference. Just familiarize yourselves with the way things have to be done and obey the rules. I don't think that is expecting a lot from healthcare workers, but I think it's a minimum that we can do to work in getting things forward. This was on behalf of the Charlotte Matreke, Johannesburg Preparedness, Emergency Preparedness Committee, and I hope it is informative enough for you. Thank you for listening.